Good afternoon, friends. This is Sergey Kromchenko from Los Angeles, California, still a senior engineering manager and as that, founder of Codemify online bootcamp. But regardless, today we're talking about Playwright, one of the fastest UI, API, and performance testing automation tools, and probably one of the fastest washers and dryers of the clothes as well, because it's so multifunctional. Anyways, let's get started. Don't forget to give me a big fat thumb up, subscribe to our channel below if you do want to learn basics of the Playwright, how to install it, how to run it, and quite a few more tricks. Let's go. Install Playwright. But before we do that, we have to find out where we're going to install it. Let me see where I'm at. I am in a desktop folder, as you can see right here. So let's create a new folder, call it projects, mkdir projects, and cd projects. So we would get inside of it right away. Awesome, now we are inside of the projects folder. Let's run pwd just to make sure and verify that we did create it and we did navigate to it. Great, now let's Google Playwright. All right. Fast and reliable end-to-end testing framework. Great, let's click on get started. And we are in the documentation. As you can see, it's highlighted right here. Getting started section. So let's scroll down, installation, and let's get right here using init command. So run from your project's root directory. But I would like to create a new directory, aka new folder, and install it inside. So let's copy this command, paste it, and replace new project with Playwright. So now we're going to have on the desktop, we're going to have projects folder. Inside of the projects, I'm going to have a folder Playwright. Inside of the Playwright, I'm going to see all of the code. Okay, perfect. Now we're choosing which language do we want to use, TypeScript or JavaScript. Let's stick to JavaScript for now. Where do you put your end-to-end tests? We're gonna use the default one, so I'm gonna hit return button again or enter. Add GitHub action workflow, not yet, so we're gonna click enter for false. And it's installing Playwright. Hackaboom, done. All right, let's run ls. We can see Playwright, cd Playwright. We are inside. I'm gonna clear. Also, I'm gonna click right here to open a Playwright folder so you guys could see everything that we have inside. Alrighty, I'm gonna quickly walk you through what we have right here. Node modules is a default folder for any of the node-based applications where you can see all of the frameworks and the libraries that are installed, pretty much dependencies. In a Windows world, this folder would be called programming files, and that would be only one folder for entire computer. Here, every application will have its own node modules folder where all of the dependencies are installed. Tests. Inside of the tests, we keep our spec files. One spec file, let's change the name. Instead of example, let's call it, let's say, login. So think about this. One spec file could be one feature, aka login, in this example. So inside of the login spec, we'll have a lot of tests related to login. Let's see, what do we have inside? So inside we have const, test, and expect. So we are importing functionality of the Playwright. Then we have a before each hook, which runs before each test. Then we have to-do items, just an array of values, blah, blah, blah. And we have describe. So describe is a test suite. So this is exactly what you will see in a test case management system. It's a test suite. And test is a test case, pretty much an automated version of the test case. That's it, as easy as that. Then we have many of those, should append blah, 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 should blah, blah, blah. And we have a multiple describes in one folder, just to create a structure. All right, let's make it simple and just run it, because we have a lot of tests here, and you probably wonder how do we run it. So I'm gonna switch back, scroll down, and let's see, first test, there we go. Playwright. Now run your test, assuming that the test files are in the test directory. Exactly. So you can run it in two ways. First way is headless, running 75 tests using 8 workers. 8 workers in human language for now means 8 browsers. So we are running 8 browsers simultaneously, and the total is 75 tests. As you can see, they are running very fast. Well, honestly, they're very short, very small, and very easy to run, and very fast and reliable tests. So that's why they're running really fast. But overall, Playwright is one of the top automation testing frameworks in regards of speed. All right. So 75 tests have passed within 25 seconds. Awesome. Amazing result. What you can do now is you can copy this command, paste it, hit enter to see a report of your test run. Bada bing, bada boom. Awesome. You can see multiple browsers, amount of time it took for each test in each browser. By the way, look at this. Safari, 3.3 seconds. Firefox, 5 seconds. Chromium, 5.2. Does this mean Chromium sucks? All right. We're going to discuss that later. I'm going to come back here. So if you guys are done checking your report, you can press Control-C on a Mac. On Windows, it'll probably be Function-C or Control-C. Yeah, I have no idea. Anyways, I'm not a Windows person. Let's move on. In non-headless mode. So we're going to run npx playwright -- headed. You can also find it in the browser. Right here, when you get to documentation, and then you scroll down by following the instructions that we have already followed, you will see that this is the command that we ran. But also you can run playwright test. Playwright test just ran in the test using Chromium browser in a headless manner. Let's tell it to use headed browser. As I mentioned, there is a headless mode, which it is using by default, and there is a non-headless or headed. That means that you are going to see browsers that are going to run. All of them are right there. You can see lots of browsers, lots of things happening. Boom, 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 boom. Too fast for a human like us to understand. Then nightly, Jesus Christ, what is that? Probably this is Safari or Firefox. Not really sure, but whatever it is. All right, now it's running again. One of those, boom, done. That was fast and furious. All right, now you know how to also run it in a headed mode. Now you guys know how to set up Playwright and how to use it, but let me give you one more advice. I would highly recommend you guys to read the entire documentation of the Playwright website. It is amazing. Honestly, if you go through it one by one, you will learn much more that I have just told you. You will see all of the examples of the expects. You can verify the title of the page, such as getting started, pipeline, Playwright. And you can also see all of the other types of URL verifications and to be visible, to have attribute, etc., etc., etc. It is very useful as you will probably be working on it soon and you will need to know, how do I do this? How do I do that? Everything is right here. You can also Google it. You can also use an amazing search that they have on the right side. But once again, go through an entire documentation. Try to become as comfortable with the Playwright as possible. So we ran our tests. They all look good. Now let's continue going through the list of files. So we have a get ignore. You can ignore this for now because this is related to the GitHub. If you're not familiar with it, don't pay attention. If you're familiar with it, you know what's up. Package lock JSON. This is pretty much a history and the versioning of and a micro versioning of all of the dependencies that you have ever installed. So if you ever install something new or if you ever update a version, the history will be kept in this file. Package.json is pretty much a configuration file for startup/configuration file for every Node.js application, which contains a list of dependencies with a major version of it. So the version is right here, Playwright 1.23.1. and some basic information such as name of this framework, version, and we specify it, me and you. We write it down. If you have made an update, you can update it to 110, etc. Main file, that's the file that we start application with, but for now we can ignore it as we're not using it right here. And this should be enough for the beginning. And in Playwright configuration, that's the most important, one of the most important files within a Playwright itself, because this file specifies how and what is going to run. So let's get through it. All right, config test directory, tests. As you can see, we've specified tests is a directory for all of our test cases. And if we change the name right here to test1, for example, and we kick off automation, it's not going to run it because it's not going to find tests folder as specified here. So these two should match, and only then your automated tests will run. Let's make sure that works. npm playwright test. There we go, it's running. I'm gonna kill it. Now I'm gonna change this to tests instead of test1 as we have right here. And this will not run. Now we're gonna do the other way around. We're gonna leave this one tests, and we're gonna leave the actual folder name. We're gonna put test1 here, and we're gonna leave actual folder name as tests. This should also now work because there is mismatch, correct? And if we change it back to tests, this should run. There we go, running, but I'm gonna kill it. Control C, Control C, Control C, killed, perfect. Timeout, maximum time one test can run for. So 1000 milliseconds multiplied by 30, which means 30 seconds. Because 1000 milliseconds is 1 second. Not sure why exactly they do multiplication here. I don't think that matters because we could simply go this route and that would be exactly the same thing, but much more readable. Expect, so this is for our expect statements for verifications. If we go back to our test, you will see that first of all, we write a describe, which is we specify our test suite right here. Then after we specify our test case, it should allow me to add to do items. Then after that, we actually execute some steps such as fill out form, press enter, and then expect right here. So expect is part of the Chai library. Probably they have implemented exactly the same library right here. So an expect, as you can see right here, will have a timeout. So by saying 5 seconds, we're specifying that if this element does not appear within 5 seconds, we're gonna get an error as specified right here. So if your automation, if your website is slow, in some cases you might do 50 seconds because your website might be too slow for a lot of tests to run simultaneously. But I would highly recommend you to try to keep it as minimum as possible, such as 20 seconds would be fine. But once again, it all depends on the performance of your website. Run test files in parallel. As you've seen, we've been running how many? 8 workers, so 8 browsers simultaneously. I'm gonna kill it again. And that's because we have parallel runs set to true. If we set them to false and we kick it off again, we're running only 3 workers. And 3 workers because we're running one browser. We're running only one browser, but we have 3 of them. That's why we have 3. So let's say if we would only specify 1, if we would say that we want to only use Chromium, then, and we say if there is no parallel runs right here, and then if we kick it off again, then we're going to see that there is only 1 worker being executed at the time. So if you want to run only 1 worker per time, you have to specify 1 browser. If you want to run only 1 worker, aka 1 browser per time, but you're okay to have multiple browsers, you can run 3 and you can run 4 if you will add another one such as Opera if they support it. Anyways, but if you want to limit it to 1 per browser, you set it to false. If you do not, you set it to true. Great, let's move on. Failed to build on CI. So we're not going to get into CI yet because you guys most likely are not familiar with the CI. Retries on the CI as well. We're gonna skip this. We're gonna skip this reporter HTML. If you remember, when we ran our code, we've got this not a pop-up, but this line of code popping up, and we can copy paste it, run it to see actual report of an execution. This is running on local, and it's using the results of the tests that we have just ran, Playwright report, and it's saved all right there, index.html. That's what it's running. So this is our HTML reporter. You can learn more about reporters right here. I'll show to you guys in a second, so you will know exactly what other reporters you could use. Let's see, reporter, list, JSON, etc. So there are many of those. Dot, list. There are different types of reporters. You can read more about them exactly on this page. All right, let's go back. So reporter, we've got use. Action timeout. Maximum time each action such as click can take defaults to 0, no limit. Exactly. So if you do not want to put a limit on every action of the Playwright, which is the good idea, let's just keep it as 0. Base URL. So if you guys work for a company, let's say for google.com, and then you mostly run your automated tests against qa.google.com. So you can set it as a default, and then in every one of your tests, you will be able to write this command. I'll show you as an example. You'll be able to write this command. There we go. I'm missing something. Okay, perfect. So you will have to just specify the slash, so it would pick up the default base URL from here. As easy as that. So you wouldn't have to say qa.google.com blah blah blah. It will always come from the configuration file. All right, I'm gonna put it back here and get back to our configuration file. Trace on first. Okay, collect trace when retrying a failed test. So we can learn more about that, but pretty much it's logging that you can use to debug your automation, your failed test. Trace, recording, trace. Okay. So that's exactly what it is. So whenever something fails, you can specify to record it, not to record it, etc., etc., etc. Let's get back and continue. Projects and major browsers. Exactly. So we are using Chromium, we're using Firefox, we are using WebKit, which is a desktop Safari, which is a very fast one, by the way. Test against mobile views. Awesome. So if you guys want to run your automation against mobile views, just remember, this is not a mobile app, this is mobile view. So pretty much your browser will be running, hold on, this is not a right window. This would be right here. Perfect. So if you ever want to run it against the mobile view, which you can specify right here, just like that. This is exactly what you're going to be testing against. This is the mobile version as you would navigate to this website through the phone, such as iPhone 12 Pro. There we go. All right, I'm gonna shut it down and get back to reality. All right, branded browsers, Microsoft Edge. I hope you guys not running your test against that, but good luck if you do. And finally, a folder for test attractions such as screenshot videos. Great, test results. You can decomment it, and that's where it's going to save your artifacts such as screenshots, videos, traces, etc. So you could use it for your own reporter website. If you decide to create one, it will give you a lot of flexibility, but also it takes a lot of work to do that. Run your local dev server before starting tests. So this one is for applications. So if you have an application that you want to run and you want to run your test against that application, you would decomment it, you would specify port, and you would kick it off. Great, now you know what's up with the configuration file. Let's get back to our test and talk about them a little more deeply. So describe and the test structure is pretty much same as Mocha is using. Actually, they might be using Mocha underneath of the hood. So describe, once again, test suite, test is a test case. And then we have a functionality of the webhooks such as before each, after each, before all, after all. And then, and those are pretty much self-explanatory because we're specifying that this will run before each. If we want to run it only once, we would say run before all. And then if we want to run it, let's say after all, as the part of the cleanup, we would run it after all. I'm going to put it back as before each, and let's keep going. So page.locator, as you guys can imagine, it's the same thing as in a WebDriver IO will be browse, it will be $ dot, and you specify your locator, and in a Cypress it will be as CI dot get, and you specify the locator right here, or CSS selector, and then you specify your action: click, press, fill, clean, wash, etc. Just kidding. Then expect, we do same thing here. We pass our selector to it, and then we specify what do we want to have, what do we want to verify from that selector. And here we're specifying that that selector should have text, and we specify an array and the first value that we have right here, buy some cheese. And then same thing, locator, fill, press, locator to have text, and then we specify an array of multiple values. And then we have a function here, check number of to-dos in local storage. Let's do function F12 and see what does this one do. So async function, return await page, wait for function, return JSON parse local storage, blah, blah, blah. So we are returning a local storage item of React to-dos, check number of to-dos of local storage. So, and then we're passing the page and we're passing expected value. So here we pass the page and the number 2. So that means that number of to-dos. So we're verifying that in the local storage, we have only 2 item to-dos, which is the part of the custom verification that is done at this place. All right, let's see what else they have. We have another test to have contain, to contain text, to have contain, to have text, and then another verification. All right, that's pretty much the same thing over and over. Now let me clean it up a little bit so you guys could have a clean idea of what would one test look like and one describe. I'm gonna remove the second describe, and that should be enough. All right, I've removed something extra. Let's see what it was. Probably one of these. Nope, not that. Let's get back here. Let's see, what are we missing? Oh, async function. That's what we're missing. We have a couple of functions at the end of our page. That's why it was just crying about it. Okay, and then we have a lot of describes. Let me clean them up a little more, and more. Perfect. Right here. Then I gotta duplicate this line, beautify it. Awesome. So we have a couple of custom functions at the bottom of our page. We do not care about them. We mostly care about everything that we have right here. So as you can see now, we have only one test, and it is much cleaner for the beginners, because whenever you guys see a lot of describes, a lot of tests, you might get confused. So just remember that whenever you start writing your test, you have to do it in a describe. And describe starts here. If you click right here, you will see that this one is highlighted. And also you'll see it right here on the right side, that on the top you have a gray dot, and at the bottom of your slider you have another gray dot. So those are corresponding to these lines. So if you have started your describe, it should end right there, right here. And then where you start your test, you can also click here and see that it's where it's ending. And if you're missing one of those, you will see a lot of red dots. So we gotta put it back, and we have to make sure that they are always there. Awesome. Thank you for your time, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Awesome! Now you guys know what's up with the Playwright, how to install it, how to run it in headless, non-headless, all of the configs you can possibly do. So pretty much you're all set with the basics. You can join a company, you can set up automation framework from scratch for the UI. If you guys do want to learn about API, if you do not want to learn about a CI/CD integration, about a performance testing, don't forget to subscribe to our Telegram and Instagram channels, links to which you're gonna find right below it. Anyways, thanks for joining and I hope to see you soon.